Welcome to the Travel Agent Podcast. I'm your host, Aylin Blanco. I interview successful industry professionals and share my personal journey to becoming a travel agent. The show is for aspiring travel agents and travel professionals at every level. My mission is to uncover the universal keys to thrive in this business. Join me as I take a closer look into the life of a travel agent. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Travel Agent Podcast. I am so excited about our next guest, and she is going to introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Sarin Raj, and I'm the founder of Traveluxepro. I specialize in creating luxury trips for womenprenuers, from bucket list travels like Antarctica, Galapagos, Peru, Fiji, South Pacific, luxury cruising, to wellness group travels in India, Bali, Thailand, and Costa Rica. I have also put together the Four Seasons private jet experience for a few clients prior to the pandemic that busy womenpreneurs want to do, but just don't have the time and resources to dedicate to the research and logistics of making it happen. That's where I come in. I also have a YouTube channel where I share my travels, and I do blogging sometimes as well, not as much as I would like to. And I have been in the business of luxury travel for 4 years now.
Awesome. So we'll get back to the Four Seasons jet because I want to hear about that story because I have been looking at getting into that for a very long time. But first, I want to know how you got started.
My first exposure to travel was to Australia when I was 15 with my parents. It was exciting to see a different side of the world and how people lived and how things worked differently from the world that I came from. And so it started from a point of curiosity, and then it just grew and has evolved over the years. And even more so after I met my husband 15 years ago, and he came with the travel bug as well. So two bugs together. We went on exploring and doing adventures. And then it finally became like there are people that are coming to us, family and friends, that are asking for our advice and looking for options and things. So we're like, why don't we start something where we start helping people making their travels easier? And that's where it started.
Wonderful. So at what point did you feel like you finally had success?
Yeah, it's 4 years, but I'm going to take out 2020 because of the pandemic. So really 3 years for me in business. And it was towards the end of the second year when I got that Four Seasons jet booking. And then it just propelled things for me. But then a whole bunch of bookings got canceled in 2020. But they have been rescheduled for end of 2021 and 2022. So I'm really happy that my clients decided to stay on.
So tell me a little bit how you handle the pandemic and how that is affecting your business currently.
Wow. So initially when it started, obviously, nobody had a blueprint of how to deal with a pandemic in the travel world. And just like everything else, travel gets impacted the most. Anything worldwide that happens, right? And so first thing was chaos, because you'd see all my clients calling in, not knowing what it's going to look like, those that had trips coming through, how do I deal with this and all that. So a lot of rescheduling to bring clients back home, and then a lot of rescheduling or working on refunds with travel partners to make sure that clients were not off financially. And then it was dead. There was no activity. And so I used that time for professional development, and I used that time to work on my business. So what I did is I revamped my website. I started my bi-monthly newsletters, and I started doing a little bit more blogging. And I went through my archives of travels that I had done. And so I was picking up information from there to create guides and being quite active on social media. I know it was like, do I show? Do I not show? Like people are not in the right mindset. So for me, it was more like educating people on what's happening and what it's going to look like. And obviously, I didn't have the crystal ball. So I went with what the CDC was putting out, what the federal government was putting out, and trying to keep my followers and clients updated on that. So the biggest thing was the website, the newsletter, and also the pivot of what I wanted to do when everything would come back to normal, or sort of, it's post pandemic coming back to normal. Like, what did I want to do? How did I want my travel business to look like? And so a lot of strategic thinking and what I wanted to do going forward. So I used that time to do that.
Nice. So as a result from all your hard work during the pandemic, where is your business today?
I am already booking into 2022. I have book of clients that I had before pandemic hit. They have all come back because I stayed connected with them throughout the pandemic, checking in on them every 2 or 3 months, how they were doing. And then more like, okay, are you vaccinated? How are things going for you? And then it's funny, like this, and they bring up the subject of travel themselves. It's like, you know what? I'm thinking of doing this bucket list travel because after this pandemic, I don't know if I'll be able to do it again. So I want to do this. So a lot of bucket list travel is on the book.
I'd like to talk a little bit more because I know that we talk a lot about social media and staying present and all of these things, but I'm a huge fan of email because people are still checking their emails. They get emails every day, whether they're clicking on them and engaging with them is a different story. But when they see something about travel, I assume that they would click on it. So can you give us a little bit more information about your newsletter and positively impacted your business as well?
It's interesting to see that most of my clients that are subscribed for my newsletter don't follow me on Instagram, or they are not on Instagram at all. So it's a nice way for me to stay connected with them through my newsletter. And it's concise, and it is perhaps for the genre that is older than us. And so they're not so much on social media. They like to read things. And the next closest thing to having something in their hand and read is perhaps an email for them and a newsletter. So I think that's where it sits with the newsletter. And the click through rate is pretty high. So that just makes me happy that, you know what? All the travel inspiration that I share in the newsletter is like, it's resonating with people and they're enjoying it. And I had one client, there was one newsletter that I talked about booking a trip to Savannah in Georgia. And he emailed me and he goes, that is so creepy because my wife and I were thinking of going to Savannah, Georgia in November. And it's funny, we were talking about you and then we get this newsletter from you. So I think it's just a different way of connecting with your clients through newsletter versus on Instagram or Facebook.
So tell me, what is one thing that you wish that you would have known when you first started your business that would have been incredibly helpful right now?
So my finance background really helped me with the setup of my business side, like the admin side of things, from the business setup to taxation to the different softwares, etc. Basically, the cost of running business and understanding where my break-even point is, outlining the strategy and the goals, like that part, my finance background really helped me with. I wish I had a mentor starting out because I had done the luxury selling travel course. And so I had all the steps of going through the process of selling, but I did not know someone that I could learn from firsthand in the real world, someone I could pick up the phone and run ideas by. Number two is I wish I had known how to navigate a travel business during a global pandemic. It was an eye opener, but it allowed me to look at my service offerings and how I can bring more value to my clients. So, what I'm seeing now is that there are a lot of new travel advisors, but they don't know who to talk to. They don't know who to run ideas by. And so I've started a small mentoring group where I talk to these new travel advisors about what the real world of selling luxury travel is like, what they may or may not know, because it's not all roses, and you may not break even for the first 3 years. So again, coming back, a mentor would have been really, really nice.
I agree. I think that in anything that you do, it's always better, to learn from somebody who's been where you have been and or where you want to be. So speaking of this group, did you start this group during the pandemic or is this brand new?
I didn't have any intentions of starting it, but it just came about because I'm in the Facebook group where I took the luxury travel course. And so there's a lot of conversations going on there, people asking questions and things. So I saw an opportunity that people were looking for direction, especially the new travel advisors, that they were looking for direction. Where do I go to find this? Like, I have this request. Who do I talk to? Or I have this request. Does someone know which product I should book? Those kind of general things. So that's where it came about. And so I started reaching out to these people individually and answering their questions. And then they kept coming back for more questions and things. So it evolved. And it was like, you know what, why don't we start a mentoring session? I want to learn from you. And I was like, oh my God, I only have like 3 years, right? Plus the pandemic. So I don't know how much value I can provide, but they're like, no, whatever we're learning from you is very relevant, especially having gone through the pandemic and you being a new travel advisor starting off prior to the pandemic. They have found it to be very valuable. And that's how it kind of started. The group is pretty small. There's about 5, 6 people in it. And it's a very nice, small knit group.
I love that so much because really you just need to be a couple stages ahead of the next person and we can all just help each other out. So that's really awesome. So I do want to just roll back to the Four Seasons jet because over the pandemic, I saw that they had a new jet and I was looking at all the things and I was like, who is this for? How do I sell this? How do I get on this myself? So tell me about that experience because I think those types of stories just really help people know that it's possible. You can do it.
Yeah, and even space travel is possible now, right? So the Four Seasons, I was doing some research because I had a inquiry from a client that wanted to stay at the Four Seasons in Paris. And so I was just researching the hotel side of it. And then I somehow clicked on their jets, Four Seasons jets, and then I saw all these itineraries and things. So I reached out to their jet department and I said, this looks very interesting. I might have a client that could be interested. And as you probably know with your research, that they only have a select few itineraries for the year, right? 3 or 4 only. The duration is about 2 weeks. It looked like everything that my client would have wanted. So I took all the information and then I just sent off a note to my client. He doesn't like details. So I just sent him a note. Actually, I sent him a text and I said, would you be interested in a private jet experience? And he's like, yes, send me the details. And I sent him one itinerary only because I know he doesn't like too much information. I just sent him one. I said, there's a few other variations of this, and it happens at different times of the year. Let me know what date works for you. If you have any questions, he comes back and he goes, I'm thinking February. And I'm like, okay, how many people? He's like, give me a day. He comes back after a day and there's 6 people. And the booking process is very seamless. Four Seasons, their service is top notch, but their jet booking experience is even better than that. And it was seamless. Everything went through perfectly. And the clients thoroughly enjoyed it. And they're thinking of doing one of the other itineraries sometime in 2022. So there's always an opportunity, especially with 4 different itineraries, there's an opportunity for them to go 3 more times.
And I think that's a good lesson. If you know your clients and you know the type of experiences, that there's a lot of different tours and experiences that you can just ask. And the worst they can say is no, or I like this and I like that. Can we do that without this? And I think that's when you realize that you are in a place where you have a business that is starting to really sell luxury.
Exactly. And the other thing that I have learned over this time during selling luxury is your clients don't know what they don't know. And that's why we are the experts. And we are the experts in what our clients know, want, or may want in the future. So keep presenting them with options that you think is aligned with what they plan on experiencing in the future.
And something that you said earlier is that the pandemic really, it sparked something in people to really want to start to explore and to go on those vacations of a lifetime. So that story made me happy because as soon as I found out about the jet, I was like, I'm sending my clients on here. I'm going, this is going to be great.
Yeah, I know. It was like, to this day, it just brings a smile to my face when I think about it. Yeah, it's been my best selling experience.
So tell me something personal and professional that it might be coming up that you're super excited about.
I think I mentioned it already, which is the mentoring side of things. And I am getting into like personal coaching for new travel advisors. And that would include social media, deciding a niche, setting up a business, like the financial side of things. So bringing it all together for the new advisors so they hit the ground running with all the tools that they need to set them up for success.
That's awesome. Well, let me know because I would love to talk to you about it. Once you get everything set up, we can definitely kind of dive into that because you've done an amazing job over the last, we'll call it 3, pretend last year didn't happen. And it's super exciting to just see what you got coming up in the future, what you have going on in the future.
Excited too. And then I'm always looking forward to what you have coming up in your back pocket.
I do have a couple things.
See, I knew it.
Well, this was awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And I look forward to having you back.
I look forward to that too. And thank you for having me. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you for joining the Travel Agent Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Visit thetravelagentpodcast.com for more information about today's episode and other travel agent resources. Be sure to tune in every Thursday for new episodes. Until next time, continue to build a travel business you love.